A senior Siemens executive and his family were among 6 people killed when a helicopter crashed into the Hudson River in New York. Officials say 3 adults, including the pilot, and 3 children on board died in the crash. This image shows the helicopter just before the crash. The family of 5 were visiting from Spain. The wreckage of the aircraft has now been lifted out of the water. The crash happened on Thursday afternoon near the west side of Manhattan. The cause of the crash is still under investigation. Here's our North America correspondent, Peter Bowes.
The tour helicopter had been in the air for about 15 minutes when it crashed upside down into the Hudson River off Lower Manhattan. Officials say the aircraft lost control soon after turning at the George Washington Bridge to move along the New Jersey shoreline.
Yeah, we gotta go back there.
A family of 3 children and 2 adults visiting from Spain were on board, along with the pilot. Eyewitnesses have described seeing the helicopter fall apart in the air and flip into the water.
The helicopter was a little bit like nose down slightly, and I saw the propeller separating from the helicopter. It kept spinning in the air along nothing.
We saw the plane was just spiraling down, like going from left to right like that. And we were like, oh my God. And we started screaming because we were like, is this really happening?
The plane started falling apart in midair, and then the tail came off and then just flipped over in midair and started falling into the ground. Propeller still propelling without the plane helicopter as it was falling.
Emergency services, including rescue boats, were on the scene within minutes, but divers were unable to save anyone on board.
Immediate life-saving measures were undertaken on the vessels at the scene, as well as the adjoining pier. 4 victims were pronounced dead on scene, and 2 more were removed to local area hospitals, where sadly both succumbed to their injuries.
Posting on Truth Social, President Trump said the crash was terrible and more details would soon be released into what happened. Sightseeing companies regularly use helicopters to give tourists a bird's-eye view of the Manhattan area. But over the years, there have been a number of crashes. The investigation into this one will be led by the National Transportation Safety Board, which said it was still gathering information.
They will be looking at possible metal fatigue, something having to do with that bolt that is at the top of the shaft that holds the rotor blade in place. That's going to be probably the first place they look.
It's been a deadly year for aviation disasters in the US. Officials are still investigating the collision between an American Airlines plane and a military helicopter over the Potomac River near Washington in January, and a crash involving a medical transport jet in Philadelphia 2 days later. In New York, the wreckage of the tour helicopter has now been recovered. Investigators will begin their work trying to find out what went wrong. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Washington.
And we can show you the latest pictures that we have coming in from the Hudson Bay. This is the scene of that crash. As we're hearing, the wreckage of that helicopter that crash landed into the river on Thursday afternoon has been pulled out by the emergency services. Officials are still, of course, investigating the cause of that crash. What we understand from officials they're investigating this incident, is that the helicopter lost control soon after turning at the George Washington Bridge as it tried to move along the New Jersey shoreline. And we'll have much more for you on that story a little later on BBC News.